Hello everyone, welcome to my Diana Gear Guide. This guide is going to go over everything that you need to get started in Diana event, including armor pieces, weapons, healing, and other items you might need. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to be talking about is your weapon. There's three main weapons that get used. Two of them are pretty bad, and then there's the Daedalus Axe. Daedalus Axe, best weapon for you to use. And then there's also the Sword of Revelations and Emerald Blade get used. Emerald Blade's only good if you have some money, and then Sword of Revelations is okay, but you take a lot of damage from it. So now talking about the Daedalus Axe, there's three different ways to enchant your Daedalus Axe. There's using One for All, Tier 6s, and Tier 7s. So Tier 7s, obviously the best for damage and for getting drops. Because for anyone who doesn't know, for stuff like Shelmets and all those other drops that don't actually show up as Magic Find drops, looting affects those drops. So if you're looking for more Shelmets, you want to use looting. So personally, I use One for All because I like damage, because I can't afford Tier 7s, but Tier 6s is quite a fair bit less damage than One for All. So then the question kind of comes up, if you want to take that hit of doing less damage for more chance at Shelmets. And that's up to personal preference. Personally, I didn't go for it because I like my damage, and, having to do more hits than you have to is a bit rough. Also, best Reforge, Fabled, use Fabled, for it, use Fabled. The next thing that we're going to talk about is getting around, because obviously stuff is all over the hub, you have to get around fast. And there's two main ways of doing this, which is just TPing around, which we will talk about these later, which helps with just TPing. Then there's also the Silk Edge and Leaping Sword strategy, where you swap between the two swords and fly like this. I would not recommend this strategy because, first of all, it's more expensive than just TPing around, and it's slower. So there's no real reason to do this strategy. So really just use an AOTV. It's your best way of getting around as a whole. It's your best TP option to do burrow chains efficiently. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is your healing weapons, because healing weapons are, very helpful, especially when you're dealing with stuff like Inquisitors or Gaia Constructs, maybe at a lower level. So these are kind of the main healing items I see getting used, being a Necron Blade, Endstone Sword, Florid, Wand of Atonement, Gloomlock, and a Power Orb. So I feel like most people know what Power Orbs do at this point. It's just a spinning box that gives you a ton of stats. For example, Plasma Flux is 125% base mana regen and 3% healing max HP per second. It just gives a ton of extra stuff for healing, which is nice. Gloomlock, I feel like still an underrated thing in general. Basically, it turns Soul Flow into HP. So you lose HP originally, but if you use left and then right click, you gain that HP right back, plus some extra. Then you have Wand of Atonement, which is just you right click and it heals you over time. I believe it's like 170 hearts for 7 seconds. Then you have the Florid, probably the most well-known healing weapon. You right click, it heals you for mana. Endstone Sword. The strategy isn't used as much anymore, at least. But basically, the Endstone Sword works where it takes up all of your mana in exchange for damage resistance, and you do more damage on your next hit. This used to be like the best way to kill guys, at least before I got a Estrella, but they did nerf this, so it doesn't give you full resistance anymore, so I don't know if people still use it as much, but it's still an option if you're looking for a more budget way to kill guys. And then obviously the final way is a Necron Blade, which this is, you just teleport and you get a ton of defense and absorption hearts. So really, these things are all up to what you can afford. Like Wand of Atonement has multiple things before it. Same with the Plasma Flux, you can get an Overflux, Mana Flux, or even Radiant Power Orb if you need. Scylla there's no cheaper thing for, but there's a cheaper one for Florid. And then Endstone is the cheapest, just thing in general, being like 400k. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is armor. We're going to be talking about beginner sets, like the best damaging set, and then also a little bit of magic find stuff at the end. Starting off with beginner sets, the two best beginner sets, which I would not recommend for legendary burrows, but is still, I'd say, good enough for rare and epic, is either Shadow Assassin or Superior Dragon, because these two sets are quite good, considering how cheap they are, because they are decently cheap each, One thing is, if a Shadow Assassin chestplate's too cheap, you can always replace it with a strong chestplate for more EHP, or a Zombie Knight chestplate for more damage, but that's up to personal preference. But these two sets are very good starting for Diana, but they're not going to get you through Legendary, because Legendary does a lot of damage. Now, talking about sets that actually will get you through Legendary, we have Necron, obviously. 3/4 Necron is the best to go for this, and there's a budget helmet that you can use, being Tarantula Helmet, if you can't afford Warden. But let's just say you can't afford Warden Helmet, so you have Warden, 3/4 with Necron. The one downside of this setup is your lack of mana. You don't get much with it. You get 600, teleports are expensive. That's where these come in. Shadow Assassin Boots. Your damage doesn't change that much, considering, but with this, every time you teleport, it restores 10 mana, meaning that each teleport you do, if you have a power scroll on your AOTV or AOTE, it will cost you 8 mana per teleport, which is very easy when you have to teleport from one side of the hub to the other. So Shadow Assassin Boots are a very good tip that I would heavily recommend for anyone who's struggling with mana, which can be a common problem if you are going from one side to the other. Now, the final thing I'd like to talk about is Sorrow Swapping. Sorrow Swapping is commonly used for Inquisitors, and I mean, some people do it for other mobs, but it's not heavily recommended, because obviously you take a lot of damage when you're in Sorrow. Personally, I don't Sorrow Swap, but if you think you can do it, go straight ahead, give it a shot, because Sorrow Swapping hurts, but extra chance for Chimera. Alright everyone, that's going to do it for this video. Please let me know down in the comments if I missed anything. And also, get this video to 100 likes, and I will make a video talking about different strategies I use for actually doing the Diana event, instead of just the gear. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and join my Discord, link in the description, and I will see you guys all in the next one.